Hello everyone, I'm back with more Blackest Night tie-ins. We are waist deep in Blackest Night. If you haven't watched the previous Blackest Night videos, go back and watch them and then come back to this video. Let's just get straight into these tie-ins. We've got quite a few to get through. We begin with Outsiders issue 24 and 25, written by Peter J. Tomasi with art by Fernando Pasarin, Scott Hanna, and Prentice Rowlands. The story begins with a rundown of Tara Markov and Brion Markov's origins, Terra and Geoforce. They are half-brother and sister. Brion was born in Markovia and raised by their father, while Tara was raised by their mother in America. Eventually, Tara was found by Deathstroke and given abilities. As we know, he used her to attack the Titans and try to kill them, and in the process, she died. And then, she re-arose as a Black Lantern. The last time we saw Black Lantern Terra, she had attacked Titan's Tower, and after that incident, she has now traveled to the Outsiders' base, where she comes face to face with her half-brother, and it seems like Black Lantern Terra has turned over a new leaf, and is trying to regain control of herself, because she doesn't want to be evil anymore. She doesn't want to be controlled by the Black Lantern Corps anymore. Tara explains to them that she's tried her hardest to take the Black Ring off, but she can't take it off, and Owlman, this is a different one, this is not the Earth 3 one, his name is Roy, he is the third Owlman, and after the New 52 reboot, he would be forgotten. He wants to put it to a test, so she puts her hand down, and Owlman goes to cut her finger off, but Brion stops him, and he's like, "Give it to me, I'm the one who's gonna do this." He cuts off her finger, and then she's like, "See? The ring won't leave me alone," and it reattaches itself to her hand. Brion is completely trusting of what she is saying, but the other members, not so much, because she did break her way into here. Rex is like, "Why didn't you just knock on the door instead of smashing the wall through?" Brion's like, "Shut up, Rex." And Tara explains that all she wants is blackness. She wants to feel the blackness. She doesn't want to be alive as a Black Lantern anymore. She says that she wants Brion to figure out a way to kill her, because he is the only one that she wants to do that. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Katana and Halo are currently transporting the villain Killer Croc. They've got the Creeper and Killer Croc in the back. Creeper is a member of the Outsiders. He's basically a heroic version of the Joker. The two of them get into a bit of a conversation about what they've been up to lately, and Katana says that she'd recently kissed somebody, and before she could go into the details, she sees her family on the road. Her dead family, and she crashes straight into them. The whole car gets ripped apart by her husband's sword. Killer Croc gets sent flying, Katana and Halo both get sent flying, the Creeper does as well. And then Tatsu comes face to face with her family, Masao, Yuki, and Reiko. According to her, they all died in a fire and she wasn't able to find them, but she is happy to be reunited with her family. She asks them if they forgive her, and they're like, "Of course we forgive you, Mum." Tatsu states that she will do anything for them to be a family. And her kid is like, "Do you mean that, Mama? Everything?" And then Creeper grabs her, pulls her aside, and Halo goes to attack them, saying that they are not her family, they are all monsters and creeps. Tatsu tries to stop her, but Halo shoots them with a massive beam of energy. Tatsu's like, "No, not again, I can't lose them again." She hits the Creeper, and then runs over to her family. Her family then gets up with her two children, and they decide that they want to kill Halo, so they attack Halo together, and she uses her abilities to destroy them, but unfortunately, because they are Black Lanterns, it doesn't really do anything. They manage to get their hands around her throat, and she's constantly destroying their hands, but they keep regenerating around her throat, One of them does let go, and it goes after the Creeper. Meanwhile, Creeper is looking for Killer Croc. The hand comes directly at him, and he quickly bends backwards, and it barely misses him. This whole time, he's just saying a bunch of nonsense, because he's the Creeper.
Float like a butterfly, sting like a creep. Would love to play, but I'm not on the trail of a chair.
Creeper then finds the Killer Croc and offers him a chance at having a little monster mash. Tatsu then confronts her husband and states that she has now realized that they are not her family and that they are nightmares and that she's going to have to deal with them.
A nightmare that I will never fully wake from.
And they clash their swords together. Understandably, Brion doesn't want to kill his sister. And he says that there has to be another way to get out of this situation.
Look at me, Brion. I mean, really look at me. Look at this body. I'm dead already. But your soul, Tara, don't you see? It's inhabited. Your corpse is somehow trapped here, crying for help. And I will not be the one to snuff it out. My soul is black, Brion. It's always been black. No, that's not true. It is true. My heart was dead long before I died.
You just didn't know it. And she forces Brion to plunge his hand into her chest and pull out her heart. I think we'll have to add this to the heart counter. It counts. She then tells him to squash her heart in his hands to give her what she wants, which is total blackness. But obviously, this doesn't do anything. And then Tara realizes that their hope and love are full, and she reveals her true colors. This entire time, she wasn't being real. She was just trying to get their guard down, to get their compassion and love up so that she could then kill them and take their love and compassion. So she creates a whole bunch of rocks, pulls the entire building apart, and encases them in these rocks. Tatsu faces her husband, clashing swords, and he brings up past memories of them as a family. The only thing I promise you, Masao, is that you will lose a copious amount of blood. She plunges her sword through his chest, and upon doing so, the Soul Taker's sword shows her everything in terms of Blackest Night. It shows her Necron, it shows her all the Black Lanterns. She rips her sword out of his body. Meanwhile, Halo is losing consciousness, and the two zombie children are like, no, we want you to be alive when we torture you. And then Killer Croc comes in, and he just smashes, he punches straight through one of their heads. Creeper jumps down and grabs another one by the head, and then he plunges his fist down their throat and rips out their heart, so we'll have to count that as well. And then he chucks it to Killer Croc, and he's like, see if his brother is hungry. And his brother and Killer Croc grabs the other one and tries to shove the heart into its mouth, which is disgusting. But the zombie kids come back for round 2, and Croc and Creeper get ready to fight them again. Tatsu continues her fight with her husband and cuts his head off and starts slicing and dicing him to pieces. Creeper and Croc begin getting tired of fighting these two Black Lanterns. They just want to go home. They want to go back to Gotham. And as these Lantern kids are going to fight them again, Halo shows up and grabs them and is like, enough! And then we see Tatsu just mourning her husband, just sitting in this pile of his body parts. It's really gross. And then he starts to regenerate and begins taunting her again, and so she cuts off the top half of his head. Like, we're not leaving until your body is cold, and then all of a sudden a white light begins to shine on him as they look over and they see Halo holding the two Black Lantern children, and the white light destroys both of them. So he has somehow become connected to the white light, because she doesn't know what she's doing right now. She has no control of her abilities. But she has unlocked power over the white light and has destroyed the two children and the husband.
Boy, am I glad you're on our side, Lightbright.
And then suddenly the art style just changes completely and gets a lot worse as Tara is torturing her brother and her friends and is planning to rip out all of their hearts. Brion tries to break free, but she uses her abilities to keep them restrained. And as she goes to take Black Lightning's heart, Owlman is like, "Hey, ugly!" Peekaboo. Figures the weakest link of the group was, and then all of a sudden, his pointy ears on his helmet just shoot out. "I see you," and they go straight into her eyes. It's like, bet you can't see me. They break free of their constraints and begin fighting Tara. We see Mr. Freeze in the background here. Just like, "Can someone please let me the hell out of here?" And they're like, "Yeah, what the hell do you think we're doing?" Killer Croc wants to go back to Gotham, and Halo knocks him out, which was not a part of the agreement. She uses her powers to dehydrate him. And that's when she hears that the others are being attacked at the bunker, so she goes to help them. And we swap back to the bunker where the remaining outsiders are fighting Tara. She's created a whole bunch of rock golems, so they are fighting them, destroying them. Then Tara picks up a bunch of rock formations that look like the Black Lantern symbol, and she throws it at them, begins pinning them down with the rocks. She goes over to her brother and is prepared to kill him, but then the white light of Halo hits her. She goes to attack Halo. She's like, "Hey, Sparkles, long time no see." Halo's like, "I hate it when you call me Sparkles." They clash with each other, hand to hand. Halo overpowers her with the white light and destroys the Black Lantern ring, but not Black Lantern Terror. Instead, Brion walks over to her, he grabs her, and he turns her to stone. And so now Terra will remain as a stone statue for as long as they want, I guess. And then Halo becomes more connected to the white light. She's like, "Oh my god, it's beautiful. I have to leave. I'm being called by it." And she disappears into the white light. And we will see what happens to Halo in the main Blackest Night series. For now, they gotta get all of the injured people to the hospital, and then they will figure out what happened to Halo. They leave Tara as a statue. And that is the end of the Outsiders tie-ins. Overall, a pretty satisfying ending to Black Lantern Tara. And I'm looking forward to seeing what happened to Halo. The next tie-ins that we're going to be covering are Rebels issues 10 and 11, written by Tony Bedard with art by Andy Clark. The first tie-in doesn't have a lot to do with Blackest Night until towards the end. It instead focuses on the main plot of Rebels going on right now, which is that the Rebels are currently facing the Starro people. Because originally there was one Starro, turns out there's a whole species of them, and they are all led by a guy called Starro the Conqueror. It is retconned that the leader of the Starro people is a humanoid Starro the Conqueror, which I think is really lame. I think it would have been much cooler if Starro the Conqueror, the leader, was a giant Starro, a big mutant version or something that's made out of other Starros. I don't know. Anything's better than this guy. This Ares-looking dude. Vrildox, the leader of the Rebels, is looking for his son, Lyral. And meanwhile, Lyral is with two other characters, Strata and Garv. They have come face to face with Starro's thugs, and they want Lyral to come with them so that he can meet Starro face to face, and Lyral decides to go with them. Different members of the Rebels are looking for Lyral. They eventually find Strata and Garv and find out that Lyral has been taken to see Starro, and that really pisses off Vril because all he wants is to find his son. We then cut to Maltus, which is where the Starro people reside, where Lyral meets Starro the Conqueror and gets given this Starro thing to wear, which controls his mind, and he is forced to join Starro the Conqueror, and he tells Starro not to call him Lyral anymore, and to call him Brainiac 3. because Vrildox is Brainiac 2, he is Brainiac 3. The rebels head off to Mountus in search of Lyril, and while they are flying in space, they are pursued by Starro's thugs, who attack one of their members, Wildstar. The ship starts getting rocked about by these dudes, and that is when a character known as Stealth shows up. Stealth is a former member of the Rebels, and she had died, and now she is back as a Black Lantern. So this is where we finally start to get into the Black Lantern stuff. She shows up, she attacks Wildstar, rips her heart out, and then she fights Starro's thugs. So they're like, oh, we get to get the hell out of here because Stealth is here, and she's kind of helping us, but at the same time she isn't helping us. One of them is like, oh, if Wildstar survives that encounter, she'll meet up with us later. And it's like, bro, she got her heart ripped out. She is not surviving that shit. And then they see some Sinestro Corps members in the middle of space, and the Sinestro Corps sees their ship and is like, oh my god, it's Godsend. And they plan on fighting the Sinestro Corps, but they're like, hold up a sec. Like, maybe they're not going to attack us. It's not a great idea to get into a war with the Sinestro Corps. And that is when Black Lantern Harbinger shows up. Lila Michaels. She used to work for the Monitor, and now she's a Black Lantern. So she begins attacking their ship. She cuts it in half, clean in half. So now everybody is floating in space, which is not a good situation. And then Stealth arrives, and Lila Michaels faces the Sinestro Corps members, while Stealth goes and visits Vril, who is currently in a glass tube, and he's telling everybody to go and save these people caught in space, like Kanjaro. Lila rips out one of the hearts of the Sinestro Corps members, and while Stealth is talking to Vril, the Sinestro ring goes over to him and grants him its abilities, and Vril transforms into a member of the Sinestro Corps, which is cool. It's a cool ending to this one, and we'll see what happens in part 2. Before I continue, it turns out I was wrong about Wildstar. She was not the one that got her heart ripped out, it was just one of Starro's random thugs. Anyway, Vrildox has become a Sinestro Corps member, and he faces against Stealth, and at the same time he tells Adam Strange to grab everybody and take him down to the planet below to safety while he fights Stealth. So Adam does that, he starts taking people to safety, and then keeps heading back out into space to grab people. Meanwhile, the other Sinestro Corps members help Vrildox fight Harbinger and Stealth. One of them dies to Harbinger. She plunges her hand through his chest. I'm not going to count this because she doesn't rip his heart out. We don't see it. They don't say it. So can't count it. Vril blasts through Stealth's head with energy and then grabs the other two Sinestro Corps members, and on the planet where everybody is safe, they have a conversation about Wildstar and whether or not she's okay, and they also talk about the Black Lanterns, and that is when Vrildox shows up on the planet, and he asks these Sinestro Corps members how long they have been members of the Sinestro Corps, and they tell him that they've only been Sinestro Corps members since this morning. Because apparently Harbinger killed a couple of Sinestro Corps members, and then these guys became new members. Then the Black Lanterns arrive, and so everybody has to fight against them. This is when it's revealed that Wildstar is still alive, so she heads towards the planet as well to help them. And while she does this, she explains that Stealth had taken the hearts of all of Starro's thugs that were in space with them. There was 5 of them, so we have to count 5 right here. Luckily, they show us. Originally, I went back to the last issue to count them, but they do show us all their bodies here, so that really helps. Meanwhile, Brainiac 3 builds a portal for Starro the Conqueror, and when they turn the portal on, Black Lanterns come through the portal and start attacking them. So we've got a fight on Kendato with the Sinestro Corps and all of those people on that planet fighting against the Black Lanterns. And then we have a fight going on with Starro the Conqueror and Brainiac 3 against Black Lanterns as well. During this fight, one of the Sinestro Corps members gets his heart ripped out. Brainiac 3, Starro the Conqueror, and his forces get pulled through the portal and end up on Kendato, where they help Vril fight against the Black Lanterns. Specifically Stealth, because Stealth is Brainiac 3's mother. She grabs both of them by the throats and is prepared to kill them, but then Starro the Conqueror tries to take over her mind with one of his Starros. However, he can't because she has no mind, because she's a zombie. So instead, he cuts her in half, and that is when Vril is like, the only way we can destroy these Black Lanterns is if we put two lantern abilities together. But maybe we could do it by fusing energy, like just really strong energy together. So what we'll do is we'll get Adam Strange to shoot at them with a cannon, and we'll have Wildstar channel her energy into him to combine their powers, and hopefully that'll be enough. So that is what they do. She channels her energy through Adam Strange. They shoot the laser cannon at the Black Lanterns. Unfortunately, it doesn't do anything. Just a big waste of time. So instead, Vril Dox decides to just send all of the Black Lanterns to Starro's base by shoving them all through the portal that Brainiac 3 made. And Brainiac 3 is like, what are you doing? Why are you sending them to my master? And Vril Dox is like, because I can, and I don't want to deal with them. So they throw all the Black Lanterns in, and then Stealth goes to grab Brainiac 3, and he calls for Vril's help, and Vril just sends them both through the portal, and just leaves his son with the Black Lanterns. It's like, fine, you win, Brainiac 3. He then falls to his knees, and the Sinestro Corps ring starts going all crazy, and Sinestro appears from it and tells him to come and join him, and Vril says, drop dead, and the ring leaves him. And he's like, now that we're done with that, we gotta deal with Starro, and deal with my son, since he's chosen them. And we will not see how this rectifies, because we are not reading Rebels. But that is the end of the Blackest Night tie-ins. They were alright. I just don't really care a lot about the Rebels series. And it spent a lot of time focusing on the main plot of Rebels, and I don't read Rebels, so didn't really care about any of that. I'm just here for the zombies. I'm here for the Black Lanterns. We move on to Doom Patrol issues 4 and 5, written by Keith Giffen, with art by Justiniano and Livesay as Arani Desai, who was Niles Calder, the chief of the Doom Patrol. She was his ex-wife. They had divorced, and then he died, and she took over the Doom Patrol and became the character known as Celsius, and then eventually she died, and now she's being reborn as a Black Lantern. And it's not just her. Other deceased members of the Doom Patrol are also being reborn. Tempest, Negative Woman, and a mysterious person in the shadows behind them. Meanwhile, on Oolong Island, where the Doom Patrol reside, as well as the Science Squad, which is a whole group made up of scientists that are there to protect the island, the Doom Patrol arrive, and Rita is pissed at the moment. She wants to go and talk to Niles about somebody that is in her head, or in her mind. I'm assuming it's her ex-husband, Mento, that she's referring to. Meanwhile, Larry Trainer, the Negative Man, has to take Clifford Steele, Robot Man, away and fix him because he's currently in pretty bad condition. But at this point in time, he has multiple brains and multiple heads, so it's very easy for him to just get a new body. Rita storms into Niles' office and doesn't find him there, but what she does find, or who finds her, is Tempest, Black Lantern Tempest. And he explains to her that she was dead at the time that he was a Doom Patrol member, but now he's back to settle the score and get his revenge. And he blows up the entire building with her in it using his wind powers. Niall is notified of this, and that is when his ex-wife enters and attacks him with her abilities, or is going to, and he activates a whole bunch of guns in his wheelchair and starts blasting her to bits. But Arani very quickly takes care of it, and then she jumps onto his lap and kisses him, and using her Celsius abilities, freezes his legs and then smashes them to pieces. It is brutal. Meanwhile, Cliff gets fixed by Larry, and Larry points out that the multiple brain things is really freaky to him, and Cliff is like, oh, it doesn't really matter to me, I don't really care, I'm happy to just throw out these bodies as soon as they start rusting. And Larry's like, yeah, but doesn't it mess with you that there's just so many of these bodies lying out here in a dump? Because we see that Cliff just dumps these bodies whenever he's done with them. There's just a whole pile of them outside. That is when Larry gets attacked by Black Lantern Negative Woman, and so he decides to use his negative spirit against hers, but unlike her, he can't be awake while he does it, and he only has 60 seconds before he dies. The negative spirit has to return to him within 60 seconds. Meanwhile, she can just have hers fly around and she'll be fine. So Cliff needs to distract her for 60 seconds so that he can get back into his body and not die. But unfortunately, she overpowers him while her negative spirit enters Larry's body, which is not a good thing. Cliff gets thrown flying and sees somebody standing behind him. Meanwhile, the science squad are notified of the attack on Oolong Island and decide to get their forces together in order to stop the Black Lanterns. And Rita faces Tempest in battle, who very easily overpowers her. He just sucks the air out of her lungs and zaps her with lightning, which causes her to crash through one of the buildings on Oolong Island. She passes out, or is passing out, and Tempest decides that he is going to take her heart. Meanwhile, Arani mocks Niles, grabbing pieces of his legs and chucking them on the floor, and then she prepares to take his heart as well. And then we see that the person that is behind Cliff is himself. His old body, Clifford Steele, back as a Black Lantern. We see that his brain is missing. It's a pretty horrific sight. I really like it. It's very body horror. And so now, he is here to get his revenge because Robot Man discarded his old life. I had a feeling that the story was going to go in this direction, and I'm happy it did. The battle between Clifford Steele and Robot Man begins as Robot Man doesn't believe that this is him or this is his former body, and Steele is like, nope, I am you, and you are going to have to deal with me now because I can't believe you even forgot about me to begin with. Like, what happened to all the good times we had when you were a human? Robot Man punches through Steele's head, which is awesome, but because he's a Black Lantern, it doesn't really do anything. He grabs onto Steele's face, but Steele rips his arm off and then punches him through the chest, and he turns around to see Larry with Negative Woman on top of him, and Larry's like, hold that pose, and then he shoots the negative spirits out of himself and through her. Both of their negative spirits have fused together, causing a pretty insane reaction, and Larry guides them back into Negative Woman, and then shoots his one out of her, and the force and power destroys her and severs the Black Lantern ring. I don't really know how that works. It wasn't really light, but I guess his negative force is very bright, and it's bright enough to destroy her. I don't know. Comic logic, it works. So now they've got to fight Clifford Steele, and for whatever reason, Larry doesn't choose to do the same thing to him right away. He just lets Robot Man fight him hand to hand. Niles is about to be killed by Arani, but he is saved by this living black hole. I swear, I tried to look up what this character was. It took me a while. I eventually figured out who they were, because they weren't listed on the comic book page or on Comic Book Geeks, which is a place where you can find information about all of these. This is apparently a living black hole called Black Hole. It has no wiki page of its own or anything. But it uses its powers to save Niles, and Niles is like, alright, let's get the hell out of here. The black hole's like, okay, sir, let's do that. Meanwhile, Tempest is going to kill Rita, but then the science squad shows up, and Rita sucks him into her mouth, and then spits him out. And Tempest is like, oh, cute, real cute, bimbo. Serves me right for trying to be a nice. And then all of these turrets come out of the ground, and they start blasting him. Like, doo, doo, doo. Rita is pissed off because she's been toyed around with by lots of different guys, the chief, her ex-husband, and now a dead man. It's like, it ends here now, no more! She runs off to go find Tempest while Niles and Black Hole run out of where they were, and Arani is chasing after them. Rita confronts Tempest, but unfortunately, because he is one of the strongest Doom Patrol members of all time, he summons a tsunami and chucks it at her, flooding the entire island. Robot Man manages to rip the Black Lantern ring off of Clifford Steele, and he tells Larry to use his powers to destroy it, but the ring starts regenerating the Black Lantern, and then Larry hears a noise, and the tsunami hits both of them. And we see a cool shot of Black Lantern Arani using her powers to avoid the tsunami, and Black Hole using its powers so that Niles is safe from the tsunami. The science squad are figuring out whether or not they should send the Doom Patrol away, because letting them have refuge on Oolong Island wasn't a great idea. But instead of doing that, they decide to just focus on saving the island from the Black Lanterns, and the best way to do that is to send the Black Lanterns away. So Niles gets in contact with Larry and Cliff and tells them that they are going to use a boom tube to send the Black Lanterns away, and that they are going to need to lead them to where the boom tube is going to be activated. Rita reunites with them, and Robot Man grabs her and Larry, and they all run away with the Black Lanterns chasing after them. They arrive at the boom tube, they activate the boom tube, the Black Lanterns are sent falling into it, and they get teleported away to God knows where, and that is where the tie-ins end. Overall, a pretty fun pair of tie-ins, even if you're not super into Doom Patrol. I think it's pretty easy to enjoy the two of these. Cliff's human body coming back was predictable, but welcomed. It was really cool. Like, that's just the thing I love about Blackest Night, is doing shit like that. Arani freezing and smashing Niles' legs was badass, and Tempest creating a tsunami. Pretty much everything Tempest did in these issues was pretty badass. Next up is Booster Gold issues 26 and 27, written by Dan Jurgens, with art by Dan Jurgens, Mike Norton, and Norm Rapmund. A two-part story called Dead Ted, as the second Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, and the best friend of Booster Gold, rises from the grave as a Black Lantern. Rip Hunter is currently with Skeets, and knows about the whole Black Lantern situation, and Skeets decides to go and find Jaime Reyes, the third Blue Beetle, because Booster Gold has gone missing, and they might need his help to find him. Meanwhile, we find Michael John Carter at Ted Kord's funeral. This is that same version from the funeral. This is not the future version of Michael. And we see exactly what happened when he went to Beetle's funeral. This is something I don't think we've seen until this point. We never got to see Beetle's funeral. We saw his death at the hands of Maxwell Lord, but they kind of skipped over the funeral. He mentions that there are a lot of heroes there, old friends of Beetle, and also people that weren't really friends with Beetle, like Batman. But Brewster points out that nobody there really showed any compassion or sympathy towards him, except for Diana, Wonder Woman. She was the only one that actually walked up to him and hugged him. And then the regular funeral stuff happens, everybody comes up to the podium and starts talking about Ted, and then it is Michael's turn, and there are so many things that he wants to say, not just about Ted, but about everybody else. He wants to call out people who made fun of Ted, were really bad to him, especially Batman, because Batman was the reason Ted died to begin with, but he can't find the words that he wants to say, and he ends up not saying anything in typical Michael Carter fashion, where every victory is turned into defeat. I come up empty. And so he just leaves the podium. Meanwhile, in Texas, Jaime has just had a burrito, and Skeets finds him and asks him where Booster is, if he's seen him. And Jaime is like, no, I haven't seen him. But if you're looking for Booster, I'll come and help you as Blue Beetle, because Ted Kord was his best friend. And Booster was there when I became a Blue Beetle. So he's kind of like my mentor in a way, or somebody that could be my mentor. So I will do what I can to help him. Michael is beating himself up over the fact that he wasn't there to save Ted, that he couldn't do anything. Like, some friend I am. Bad enough I wasn't there to save him. Now at his funeral, I can't find the means to pay proper tribute. I'm sorry, Ted. I'm so sorry. Diana finds Michael and decides to have a talk with him. Michael, we understand. You do? Because I don't. I don't understand where you were, or Superman was, or even Batman was when Ted needed us. My God, he'd gone to Batman for help. You're angry. I understand that. You're angry because we are the ones who are supposed to prevent things like this from happening. And you're angry with yourself for not being there. You have to make peace with yourself, Michael. Once you do, life will get better. It's what Ted would want. But I should have been there. How can I stand up there and say something when I failed him? It's not like I cost him a job. He's dead. Dead. Booster Gold. Bad enough to be AWOL when Ted needed me most. What kind of man can't eulogize his best friend? It's just quite depressing. As Michael leaves the funeral, we see that his future self is there watching this all happen. I've seen some bad days in my life, but this might have been my worst. The day I couldn't pay tribute to my friend. I shouldn't have come back here. But sometimes looking in the mirror of the past and seeing yourself at your regrettable, failing worst shows you that there's only one direction left to go. Up. For Ted. To be anything less than the best I can possibly be would dishonor his memory. Meanwhile, at Daniel Carter's house, the ancestor of Booster Gold, his girlfriend Rose wants to go to a cat show, but he's too busy playing video games, and he finds cat shows to be really boring. But then they get a knock on their door, and they open it to find Jaime and Skeets there, who ask them if they've seen Booster. Daniel wants to help find Booster, and then they suddenly hear something that sounds like a plane or a jet that's coming near the house, and that is when the bug, which is Ted Kord's ship, crashes into the house. But this isn't his bug. This is the Black Lantern Ted Kord's bug, so it's all decrepit looking. And Black Lantern Ted comes out of it. He is looking for Michael to mess with him and take his heart, but he'll settle for Daniel instead. However, Jaime fights Ted, blasting him straight through the wall of the house. One of Daniel's neighbors comes out and is like, "Hey, you punks mind? We're trying to sleep over here." And Ted walks up to him and pulls his heart out. Like, if it's sleep you want, old man, I can help you with that. Permanently. Daniel transforms into his supernova form and prepares to teleport Rose away to safety. However, he gets shot through the shoulder by Ted, and Ted plans on taking him out permanently. Michael is planning on heading back to Rip Hunter and Skeets, but then he sees that something is going on down at Daniel's house. He sees Ted's ship, but he notices right away that it is not Ted's ship and that it's more decrepit. And then he sees Jaime get blasted, and that's when he turns to find Ted holding Daniel hostage. It's like, "Booster, old buddy, old pal. I've been looking all over for you, Bubba." Skeets is like shooting him in the back with his lasers, and it's not really doing anything to him. Michael can't believe what he's seeing. He doesn't think that this is the real Ted, and Skeets is like, "Yep, that's exactly right. This isn't him." But Ted still gets under his skin and tries to convince him that he is Ted because he has all of Ted's memories. He knows all of the pranks that he and Booster had pulled on everyone, from when they injected castor oil into the filling of John's Choco Cookies, the time they put Fire's panties in the dry ice, or when they sprayed Ralph with WD-40. Rose begs Michael not to trust him because this Ted tried to kill them. It's like, "Whoever is behind this, whatever monster pulled you out of the dirt, will pay." And he punches Ted. It's like, "Oh yeah? That's it? Get emotional. Get angry. I just eat that up." Michael goes over to help Rose, and then Ted tries to attack them, but Daniel comes in and punches him. But then Ted just kicks him in the back because Daniel kind of sucks as a superhero. Just gets his ass handed to him, even though Supernova is supposed to be pretty powerful. I'm assuming Daniel just doesn't have any powers as Supernova. He's purely just got the costume and that's it. Ted tries to steal Daniel's heart, but then Jaime comes in and punches him in the face. But then Ted turns things against Jaime and kicks him in the chest, sending him flying. Booster threatens to take down Ted, but Ted is like, "There's no way you can blast me because part of you still wants to reunite with your old best friend." And then he shoots Booster with a sound blast from his gun. It's like a concussion blast or something. He walks over to Rose and grabs her by the arm and prepares to try and take her heart, but before he does so, he says, "Hey, you should be with me and not that Daniel dude." But before he can take her heart, Booster blasts at Ted. Ted starts dodging his beams, and then he tries to trick Booster again by saying that the real Ted doesn't want to be a Black Lantern, and that he begs Michael to help him. But Skeets tells Michael not to listen to Ted, but Michael still drops his guard, and Ted is able to get one in on him. And so, instead of continuing to fight Ted, they decide to teleport away to where Rip Hunter is. When they get there, Daniel collapses, and Rip decides to look after him, and then Rip shows Booster the Flash's message on how to deal with the Black Lanterns and how they need light, specifically lantern light, but also other forms of light can hurt them as well. And Booster's like, "Well, I've got a different idea. I could just go back in time and stop Max Lord from killing Ted, and then that'll fix everything." And Rip is like, "Well, you know that's not going to work because of fixed time." And Booster's like, "The reason why you don't want me to go back in time and stop this isn't because of this weird fixed time that you keep talking about. It's because you know how it all ends, right? If anyone dies, Jaime, Rose, Daniel, anyone, do you even care? Or is it insignificant to someone who uses the time stream as his personal playground? As long as it's what's supposed to happen, you'll watch and say, 'Mission accomplished.' Finished? Good. This isn't at all accurate. What I want is, save it. My own sister disappeared in the time stream, and you haven't done a thing to find her. You've been hiding something from me since day one. Someday, I'll find out what that is. Right now, I have a job to do. My best friend has to die again, and I have to be the one to kill him." So Michael enters a time capsule, and Jaime and Skeets go with him, and then Rip Hunter reveals that he is Michael's son. He's like, good luck. The day will come when you'll understand why I had to do things this way, Dad. This is a big retcon, because before this, Rip Hunter had no relation to Michael at all, but this series was when they officially made it that he would be his son. Michael and Jaime head to Cord Industries, where they enter the Beetle Cave, and when they get there, they realize that somebody else had been there months ago. This will probably be revealed in a later issue of Booster Gold, so it doesn't really matter to us. But the reason they've come here is to get some technology to help them fight Black Lantern Ted, so they grab what they need, they head back to Ted. Booster just comes flying out of the time sphere and punches Ted in the face repeatedly, just smashing him in the face over and over again. You're nothing more than reanimated dirt and mud in my book. Ooh, anger and determination. I love that. Let's ramp this up. We're ready for you this time. Skeets, and Skeet starts attacking Ted because Booster has figured out that Ted can't see robots. He can only see humans and things like that. They reveal that they grabbed a light gun that Ted had built, so they shoot Black Lantern Ted with the light gun, which doesn't destroy him, but it does sever the Black Lantern ring from him. So to stop it from reconnecting to him, they grab him, they pull him into the time sphere, and they take him to a place where the Black Lantern ring can't find him, and that place is the Vanishing Point, which is a place that is in between time itself. They bury Ted's corpse there to give him his final funeral. And then it is revealed that within the Vanishing Point, Skeets has set up all of these monitors that display all of Ted and Michael's memories that they have had together throughout their lives, which is pretty beautiful. Very heartwarming. Especially as somebody who has read Justice League International, I recognize a lot of these images. Michael thanks Jaime and tells him that he would make Ted proud, and that he is worthy of being the new Blue Beetle. Like, this is the day that he's finally proven that he is the new Blue Beetle, and he is worthy of that title. And Jaime himself, who has been struggling with whether or not he's worthy as a Blue Beetle, is finally coming to terms with the fact that he is Blue Beetle now. And that he can't replace Ted, but he can be his own hero. And so they decide to continue working together to help everybody with the Black Lantern ordeal. They fly out to find more Black Lanterns to deal with and see what the Justice League comes up with to deal with them. And that is where the tie-ins end. Two really good tie-ins. These are probably some of my favorites so far. I think it entirely relies on the fact that I'm just a big fan of Booster Gold and Blue Beetle, and I've read a lot of Justice League International comics, so I'm pretty invested in these two characters. But I think even if you just know about these characters and the fact that they are best friends, it's very easy to enjoy this story. The next times we're going to be talking about are Teen Titans issues 77 and 78, a two-part story written by J.T. Kroll with art by Joe Bennett, Jack Jadson, and Roy Jose. This story features Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, and his daughter Rose Wilson facing their friends and family that have risen from the grave as Black Lanterns. And unfortunately, this story does what a lot of modern stories try to do with Slade Wilson, and that is make you feel bad for him or root for him as a character, because as the years have gone on, they've tried to mold him into more of an anti-hero character instead of just being a straight supervillain. As you know, in the past, during Judas Contract, he slept with a 16-year-old. He is a diddler, but they've since tried to retcon that and say that he never actually slept with her and that he was just manipulating her, which I just think is complete bullshit. And this book continues the trend of undermining all of the bad things that he's done and try to make you feel bad for him. So let's get into it. William Randolph Wintergreen rises as a Black Lantern. He is one of Slade's best friends, had known him for years. Unfortunately, Slade killed him while he was possessed by his son, Joe Wilson, who has the ability to enter people's bodies. And here, my first issues with this story come up because it begins with his final diary entries. Slade is reading them in his home, alone. Meanwhile, somebody is watching him from the shadows. And through these diary entries, William states that Slade always needs somebody near him to stop him from crossing the line. That was his role in Slade's life, was to stop him from crossing the line. The only problem with that is that I don't know what the hell William is talking about, because he already did cross the line many times. He's killed children, and he's also slept with one. He's killed children, and he's still trying to kill children. So he's already crossed that line. He's crossed that line so far that he can't even see it anymore. So I have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. I gotta stop him from crossing the line. Slade feels guilty over William's death because even though he wasn't solely responsible for it, it was still his body, he still feels responsible. And this is one of those moments where you're supposed to feel bad for him, and I just don't give a shit. Because why should I? And that's when Rose Wilson shows up, and she is here to kill Slade because he ruined her life. It's pretty justified. And I find myself rooting for her to kill him, is the funny thing. Because throughout this whole comic, you're supposed to root for Slade, and for him not to be killed. But every time he's gonna die, I'm like, yeah, go ahead, do it, kill him. I don't give a shit. Kill that dude, he deserves it. So they get into a big fight, clashing their swords, and I'm just hoping that Rose is gonna come out on top. But, unfortunately, their fight is broken up by the arrival of Grant Wilson, the original Ravager, Slade's other son, who died in his first appearance. And so now Slade and Rose have to team up in order to fight Grant Wilson. Slade just blows his head apart, but because he's a Black Lantern, he regenerates. The two begin fighting each other, but Grant gets the upper hand, and he puts Slade's head near a fire and is going to roast his head, and all Rose Wilson needs to do is just let him do it. But because this comic is stupid, or Rose is stupid in this comic, she decides to save his life for God knows reasons why. Why would she do this? Why would she save his life? It just makes her look like a fucking idiot. Because of all these horrible things that he's done to her, and yet she's still willing to save him. So she just slices Grant in half, and then the two both begin fighting Grant, and he just throws his knife at her and hits her in the shoulder. Meanwhile, I guess Slade is just watching this happen and isn't really doing anything. Rose gets grabbed from behind by somebody and pulled through the bookcase. The person who grabbed her is Wade Lafarge, who at one point was also going by the name Ravager. He is an enemy of Deathstroke, Deathstroke's brother. Slade slices Grant in half, and then William comes crashing through the wall, Black Lantern version, and Adeline Kane as well, who is Slade's ex-wife, the mother of his children, except for Rose. The two of them aren't here to kill Slade for revenge for their deaths, because Slade wasn't really responsible for their deaths, and they chose to be a part of his life, which is interesting. No, they're here to kill Slade because they believe that if they kill him, it'll make Rose's life better. And they are 100% right, and they should just kill the fucker, because they're right. It will make her life so much better. I'm rooting for the Black Lanterns in this comic book, which is usually not the case. Why would I want Slade to live this encounter? He's a horrible person. Rose fights against Wade and throws a big rug or curtain over him, and then sets it alight. Burn, you monster! And then she gets attacked from behind by Grant, and the two start fighting each other again. She throws Grant into the flames, and he's like, ah! And she's like, so you can feel pain. And that is when Joe Wilson reveals himself. Like, of course I can, Rose. I'm alive, aren't I? And she's like, Joey? And I'm like, what the hell is going on? Why is Joey here? Was he pretending to be a Black Lantern? Did he possess a Black Lantern? So we learn that while Joe Wilson was in the hospital, Grant found him and tried to kill him, and that is when Joe used his contact on him and took over Grant's body. And that's where we end up now, where he has exited Grant's body. He is a good guy. He hasn't shown up to be evil or anything. He's just there to help his sister. And he showed up at the perfect time because Grant and Wade both show up, and so Joe and Rose fight them off together. Meanwhile, Slade is still dealing with William and Adeline, where they reveal that they're not here to kill Slade, they're here to kill Rose, because they believe that Rose is either going to kill Slade and become him, which is a bit of an assumption I guess you can make, but there is a chance that she wouldn't become like him, you know? Or she'll die trying, so they see it as, oh, it's just better if we kill her so that she doesn't become like you, or she'll die anyway. And Slade is determined to stop them from trying to kill his daughter because there's still a part of him that cares about her, and we also see that despite everything that he's done to her, Rose still loves him because the Black Lanterns can see love within her, which is just kind of whatever. Wade grabs her from behind and puts his knife up to her throat. Rose tells Slade to help Joey, but instead he helps her by throwing a knife through Wade's eye, and then he helps Joey afterward. Cuts Grant's head off and reaches out to Joey, grabs him. They head off to a bunker where he tells his kids to stay there because he's gonna go out and fight the Black Lanterns, and Rose tries to stop him. So he goes out, guns blazing, and very quickly gets taken down by them. He crashes back through the bunker door and is completely shirtless because I guess the Black Lanterns just ripped off the top half of his costume. The Black Lanterns start mocking Slade, saying that he couldn't even kill a bunch of teenagers, and that they're going to show him how it's done. And this is when Slade basically says, oh, I could have killed them whenever I wanted to. I didn't actually lose to the Teen Titans. I just wasn't really trying. I was trying to protect my children. And it's like, oh yeah, sure, let's just retcon that Slade has never actually lost to the Teen Titans for real, and that he's just never been trying. Like the dude needs even more plot armor than he already had. Like, I don't care what this comic says, Slade got his ass handed to him during Judah's contract. We see that Slade has love within him for his family, and they try to steal his heart, but Joey and Rose attack the Black Lanterns to save their father. Joey fights Adeline, but he can't kill her because he loves his mother, and there's no reason for him to hate her. So instead, he uses contact to take over her body so that he can fight the Black Lanterns in her body, and he tells Slade and Rose to get out of the mansion. So they get out of the mansion, and Joey hits a button where a bunch of propane tanks are in C4, and he blows up the entire mansion while he's still inside it. And Rose and Slade think that Joey is dead, and Rose is like, this is your fault. It's always your fault. But the Black Lanterns have survived the explosion, including Joey inside Adeline's body, and what he does is he starts swapping between the different Black Lanterns, taking over their bodies, and forcing them to kill each other. And once he's done killing all the Black Lanterns, he's all good, he's alive and well, he reunites with Rose and Slade states that they should team up and be a family because they're better off being a family because they all love each other. And Rose doesn't want to do this, which is great. I'm glad that she stands by the fact that she hates her father, even though a part of her still loves her. She only loves him because he is her dad, but other than that, she hates the guy. Meanwhile, Joey makes the unfortunate decision of sticking with his father, believing that he needs him because his father is the only one that can deal with him if he ever turns bad again. And it's like, bro, just go to the Titans. Like, go to your friends. You don't need this guy. You could just go to them. There are people on the Titans who still care about you, especially if you show that you are genuinely trying to return to being a good person. Rose states that the reason she doesn't need Slade is because she believes her mother, Lillian, is still alive, because if she was dead, wouldn't she have come as a Black Lantern? This almost feels like J.T. Kroll kind of forgot about the character and then realized that she didn't show up as a Black Lantern and was like, oh, well, let's just quickly like write in that she might be still alive. Now, he probably planned it out, but who knows? So she heads off on a journey in order to find her mother, and Slade and Joey are just left with each other. And Slade's like, I don't know if Lillian's still alive, but maybe she is. And that's where the tie-ins end. Overall, wasn't really a fan of them. I'm just not really a fan of the glorification of Slade Wilson. And this happy-go-lucky family dynamic that this book tries to push. I'm so glad that at the end of the book, Rose leaves. And just to give you a heads up, things do not end well between Joey and Slade. But who's surprised about that? I have read far enough ahead in Titans that it does not end well for them, and they do end up at odds with each other again. Because of course they do. The next time we're talking about is Green Arrow and Black Canary issue 30, written by J.T. Kroll again, with art by Digenas Neves, Roy Jose, and Vicente Cifuentes. After the events of Blackest Night issue 5, Green Arrow, Oliver Queen, has become a Black Lantern because all of the characters that have died and been resurrected have now become Black Lanterns. And that includes him. So right now, he is fighting Hal Jordan, and Barry comes in and saves him, and so Ollie decides to turn his sights to other friends and families or loved ones, one of those being Black Canary. Now, at first, I didn't really like this tie-in, but I will say that as it goes on, it does get better. I just think it starts off pretty weak, because when Ollie is fighting Black Canary and trying to get under her skin, it's done in a very shallow way where all J.T. Kroll uses is past relationships as a way to get under her skin, instead of going a little bit more psychological with it, trying to go a little bit deeper into their history and using things that aren't just, I had sex with this person, and a really weird one where Ollie is basically bragging about being sexually assaulted by Shadow and then dominating her afterward. That happens in this, and it's really weird, and I don't like it, and that's all he really does to mess with Dinah, when JT could have done a little bit more if he knew more about their history. But it's almost like he knew the very basic of Dinah and Ollie, of like the fact that they dated each other and that he has also dated other people. I don't know, try and have Ollie bring up the Birds of Prey or something, and have Ollie try to manipulate, Black Lantern Ollie try to manipulate Dinah into thinking that she was the worst member of the Birds of Prey, or that she was useless to her friends, that they never really liked her. Stuff like that, you know, stuff that the Black Lanterns are known for doing, for lying to try and manipulate their loved ones into feeling despair. He also beats the crap out of her and is preparing to kill her when Connor Hawke and Mia Dearden both show up. Mia is the current Speedy, I'm pretty sure, and Connor is just Connor. He's also called Green Arrow, I think, at this point, or just Hawk. I don't know. They both fight Ollie. Ollie shoots arrows back at them. Meanwhile, the real Ollie is inside trying to stop his Black Lantern self from fighting his family, and he's taking these arrows, and he's like, I can feel these arrows, and I just want my family members to just keep shooting me with these, because, you know, if they can't kill me, like, that's what I want. I want them to kill me. If I could, I would do it myself. We see this shot where Black Lantern Ollie is taking, like, how many arrows? 15 arrows, which is a lot. pulls one straight out of his eye and chucks it on the ground, and then starts shooting arrows back at Mia and Connor, and then he starts messing with Connor. He uses the truth arrow that he has that shows them their memories so that he can mess with them, and this one's much better than what he did to Dinah, because this is more about just his relationship with Connor in general, not just like, well, being father and son, but that already feels a lot deeper than what he was doing with Dinah. Talking about Connor's mother and when Connor was born and running out on Connor and leaving him to be raised by his mom, and then coming back into Connor's life but still neglecting him because Connor reminds him of the fact that he's getting older. Like, these things are all way more interesting than just saying to Dinah, oh, I slept with some people and also a woman assaulted me and then I dominated her. Like, what? All of this pisses off Connor, and he punches Ollie in the face and then kicks him in the face and then punches him again. He punches his jaw off and then the jaw just heals. And then Dinah tries to get in on the action, tells Connor to get away from Ollie, and she uses her sound abilities against Ollie, and she thinks that she's killed him, but she hasn't, because he regenerates. Ollie manages to speak through his Black Lantern self and tells them to run away, in which they do, but Black Lantern Ollie chases after them, and he continues to shoot arrows at them, but some of them are missing because Ollie is able to get through and is controlling the Black Lantern a little bit. He's forcing him to miss his shots. In order to stop Ollie, they use liquid nitrogen against him to freeze him, and so they freeze Ollie. It's all good, everything's okay. They're gonna have to figure out if they can turn him back to normal at some point, but for now, they are surrounded by a whole load of other Black Lanterns, and they're gonna have to deal with them, and that is the end of the tie-in. Like I said, when I first started reading the tie-in, I wasn't really jamming with it. I read the LOCG, and it had a 4.1 rating out of 5, and I was like, how did this get this? With this weird, like, sex shit that's going on in the book. Of just Ollie sleeping with people and being sexually assaulted and stuff like that. But then as I kept reading, I was like, oh, that's the 0.9 off. People didn't like that bit. That's why it's not 5 stars or something. That's why it's 4.1 instead, because the rest of the book is good. And so we make it to the final tie-in for today, Adventure Comics issue 7, written by Tony Bedard, with art by Travis Moore, Dan Green, Keith Champagne, and Bob Wachek. And this one is a wild one to end on. You'll see what I mean. There's a specific scene in general that I need to talk about. So, Connor Kent has become a Black Lantern after the events of Blackest Night issue 5, because he is also one of the heroes that was died and resurrected. And now he is fighting Cassie Sandsmark, who is Wonder Girl. The two of them have been in on and off relationship for many years, so it only makes sense that he would be messing with her. Meanwhile, the real Connor is on the inside trying to fight against himself, or his Black Lantern self. He's forced to watch as this guy just messes with her, calling her a skank and all that kind of shit. God, imagine if I married you. I'd have to pretend to go deaf just to get some peace. No, Connor, that's the ring talking. And then Black Lantern Connor says something wild. Where he's like, you know, sometimes when I'm alone, it's not even you I think about. It's Kara. Sure, she's technically my cousin, but does that even count if you're a clone? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, what made Tony Bedard even think of having him say something like this? Like, check that man's computer. And what kind of makes it worse is that inside, Connor is like, no, don't go there. As if he actually thinks these things about Kara. Like, what this Black Lantern is saying is true. It's like, what? That's insane. Cassie traps him in her lasso of truth, but he manages to gain control and turn the lasso against her. But then Crypto shows up, like the G that he is, and smashes straight into Connor. But then Connor freezes him, and Cassie has to fly in and save him and stop Crypto from smashing into the ground because she's awesome. Unfortunately, Connor crashes into her. However, the real Connor on the inside is able to gain enough willpower to force his Black Lantern self to use his heat vision to burn the words fortress into the ground. And so Cassie takes this as Connor saying that he wants her to lead him to the Fortress of Solitude. So that's exactly what she does. Her and Crypto lead Connor to the fortress, and when they enter it, she fights Connor while Crypto starts digging under the ground. And the reason why they have come to the fortress is because even though Connor is alive, he was cloned from his own DNA, and his corpse is still buried underneath the Fortress of Solitude. So they dig up his corpse, and the ring is then being called over to the corpse, because right now it's on the real life, like the alive Connor can. So the ring gets pulled off of him and starts chasing after the corpse, which Crypto has a hold of. Connor is turned back to normal, and he decides to freeze the ring so that it can't reattach itself to his corpse. And Crypto drops the corpse. The ring tries to get to the corpse. Connor tries to stop it, and instead Cassie decides to take it and throw it somewhere where it will never return. So she throws the frozen ring away, and then they return his corpse to where it was buried and decide that it's time that they head off and help all the other heroes deal with the Black Lanterns. And that is where the tie-in ends, and that is where this video ends. We're done with these solo tie-ins. The only tie-ins we have left to Blackest Night are the other miniseries. So we've got the 3 miniseries left over to cover: JSA, Wonder Woman, and The Flash. Other than that, we've only got the main series of Blackest Night left. Most of these tie-ins were pretty decent. I'd say my favorite ones were probably the Booster Gold ones. The Doom Patrol ones were all right as well. I enjoyed those. But the rest were kind of between mediocre and I didn't like it. But I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next week for Blackest Night, JSA, Wonder Woman, and The Flash. Have a good one.